Alright guys, today we are going to talk about calories and how calories work for us, for fat loss.
Alright guys.
Stuff like that. But first, if this is your first time here, Alright guys, what's good? Welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, I am Chad. Welcome to the channel. This is the place where we just cover very practical and realistic advice for fitness stuff. Workouts, product reviews, whatever it may be, nutritional stuff just like today. And on today's episode, we are going to be covering how many calories you should be consuming for fat loss. We're going to do all the calculations. I'm going to walk you through this board in just a second here. But yeah, welcome to the channel. If you guys haven't yet, please subscribe, and I don't know why you would hit that like button yet because you just started watching this video, but if you do like this video, please hit that like button. I would really appreciate it. So first, with the board, let's talk about the board. So overall, we're going to be covering how to calculate your overall calories for fat loss. First over here, we're going to kind of go through the hierarchy of fat loss. What's most important, what's least important, what's kind of in the middle important. We're going to talk about calories, how a calorie is a calorie, and how, you know, maybe 100 grams of one food is not 100 grams of another food. We're going to talk about the overall calorie makeup of certain macronutrients, okay? So those protein, carbs, and fats. And then we'll get into our test dummy here. Her name is Debbie. Debbie is a 42-year-old accountant here in Chicago. She wants to lose a little bit of body fat with summer coming up. I feel you, Debbie. So we're going to calculate her stuff, and we're going to run right through it. You guys can do it with us. So that's going to be a really good way to learn how to do it. I think the only way to get good at this, the only way to know how many calories you should be consuming, is to do it on a regular basis. So we have to first understand what a calorie is, okay? A calorie is very simply a measurement of energy. It's a unit of energy, right? So anytime that we move, anytime we eat, is a calorie, okay? That's how we judge it. It is nothing more. It's not anything magical. There's no difference in a calorie of one food and a calorie of another food. Calories are a unit. They're a unit of measurement. I like to refer to calories, and I actually got this from a guy I've connected with on Instagram and through social, Jordan Sayat. He's actually Gary Vee's trainer, but the way he describes it, and I like this, is imagine a calorie like a mile, okay? If you were to run a mile on sand, if you were to run a mile on asphalt, if you were to run a mile on AstroTurf, if you were to run a mile on water, you may be Jesus, but regardless of where you run a mile, that mile is a mile no matter where you run it or what you run it on, okay? Yes, when you do run that mile, a mile within sand may be a little bit more difficult than a mile on asphalt, or a mile running on water, or running through water, swimming is maybe a little bit tougher than running on grass, right? So there can be a difference in the way that we get to that mile and the overall makeup of that mile, just like there's a difference in the overall makeup of a calorie, but in terms of energy consumption and energy expenditure, a calorie is a calorie, okay? So there can be different nutrients within a food, right? But the overall calorie is a calorie, just like a mile is a mile. So I hope that kind of clears it up, okay? Now, let's talk about what is most important when we are thinking about fat loss, okay? So a lot of people, you know, they're doing different diets, whether it's the keto diet or the Atkins diet, or the juice diet, or, you know, the no fat diet or no carb diet or high fat, high carb, whatever it may be, whatever fucking diet someone has you on or convinced you of, okay, they are all meant to get you into a caloric deficit, right? They are all ways that all the names, everything that you do and the way that they promote it to you is completely a disguise for, hey, we're trying to get you into a caloric deficit so you lose weight, you lose fat, you promote our product, and we look better, right? That's the one thing that a lot of companies aren't telling you, right? Weight Watchers is a perfect example. They probably do a better job of communicating it than other people do, but they're using a number system to get you to limit high calorie items and very high glycemic, easy to overeat items and consume more high protein items, lower calorie items. So they're promoting low calorie items, trying to get you into a deficit, trying to get you to lose weight, trying to get you to reach your goal and promote their product even more. So that is the gist of it, okay? Any diet for fat loss, weight loss, it's meant to get you into that calorie deficit. So when we talk about calories, right, our body is constantly expending calories, right, through movement, through breathing, through digesting food, through just living in general, and we're consuming calories. What's good, guys? I just want to stop in and say thank you so much for listening and being on my channel here. If you guys like this video, go ahead and hit that like button and make sure you subscribe to my channel so you make sure you know when all of my new videos are coming out. Constantly this machine of burning and consuming, burning and consuming, burning and consuming, okay? So imagine it like a scale. If we overconsume food, we are going to gain weight, gain fat, right? If we have more expenditure, calorie expenditure, than we do consumption, we are going to lose weight, lose fat, okay? Now there's a little bit more detail to this. I'm not saying to completely starve yourself. I'm not saying any of that. I'm saying there is a science to it, and we just need to figure out how the science works, okay? I say okay a lot. I don't know. It's a weird filler. I need to get out of it. Okay. Jesus, Mary Joseph. Okay. So the most important thing here up at the top, you guys see my hierarchy of fat loss. The most important thing is your calories, right? I don't care if you're eating chicken nuggets and burgers. Okay. The calories are the most important thing. If we don't overconsume our calories, right? If we're under and within our range of our calories, we're going to lose weight and help lose fat, right? If we overconsume, right? If you're eating too many and too much in a surplus, your body's going to start to store that as more fat, as more weight, and that's how we see weight gain. So number one, the most important thing is calories, okay? And somebody would say, well, you know, Chad, what about like if you, so you're telling me like, oh, I could just go out and eat chicken nuggets and, you know, and that's all I eat and I'm gonna lose fat? Yes, that's exactly what I'm telling you. If, and I'll get into this a little bit more, if you were to only eat chicken nuggets, so you only go out and you eat double cheeseburgers, and you stay underneath your calories, you, over the time, are going to lose weight, lose fat, okay? Now, what I will say is those foods are a lot harder to have fat loss on because they are very caloric dense. They're also not as good nutritionally for you, which is going to, number one, not fill you up as much, two, be used as energy very quickly, thus making you more hungry, okay? So there's a difference between, and I'll get into that a little bit more, but there's a difference between nutrients and calories. Nutrients are really important, right? They're important for, you know, functions of the body and the gut and all that kind of stuff. They have a different purpose, but they don't necessarily mean that you are not going to either lose weight, gain weight. Calories is the most important thing, okay? One thing I want to touch on here, right down here, 100 grams, I have 100 grams of X does not equal, or does not necessarily equal 100 grams of Y. So for example, all foods aren't created differently in terms of overall caloric density. Things like strawberries. Strawberries are very low in caloric density, right? Ground beef is higher in caloric density. Or oils, right? So 100 grams of strawberries may be like, you know, 45, 50 calories, okay? 100 grams of ground beef may be more on the side of like 200 calories. They have different caloric makeup based on the food, so 100 grams in the mass of something doesn't always mean that they're the exact same caloric intake. So that might have been obvious, but I just want to clear that up, okay? So let's hop down here very quickly, okay, and let's talk about what I was just mentioning, overall caloric makeup of specific foods. So for protein, okay, both protein and carbohydrates, we can group them together here because they are the same value. Both protein and carbohydrates are 4 calories per gram. So when you go to weigh it on a scale, regardless of what it is, if it's a carbohydrate or if it's protein, they are going to be 4 calories per gram. Okay? And obviously there are foods that have like fats and protein, carbs and protein. Okay? I'm saying for each specific gram and each specific substrate, protein and carbs are both 4 calories per gram. All right, so now we look at fats. Fats have 9 calories per gram. So fats are things like your oils, your cheeses, you find them in meats. Those are actually not almost, those are more than double the overall caloric makeup per gram of protein and carbohydrates. So that's, I think, a lot of times why people struggle to keep their fats down and keep their calories down, because they're consuming foods that are very high in fats, whether it's processed foods or it's heavy on the meat and the dairy and the oils, or the cooking with too much oil. They tend to overconsume fats, and fats have double. So very less substance of food is going to be worth more from a caloric standpoint than, say, just straight up protein or carbohydrates. Okay. Then the last macro that people kind of forget about is alcohol. Alcohol has 7 calories per gram. Okay, so we can't forget about it. It's not just a carbohydrate, right? It's not just simple sugar. It is 7 calories per gram, so it should be on its own thing. Now that we have all of that, okay, let's go back up to the hierarchy of our fat loss, right? So first, obviously, comes calories. Okay, and this is what I suggest for a lot of people, especially if you are starting out, right? Sometimes people don't necessarily need, or they don't want to think about macronutrient makeup and nutrient-dense foods and what should they be eating. Should they be eating, higher carb, higher fat? How much protein should they be taking in? Should they eat yellow peppers as opposed to red peppers, or cucumbers as opposed to spinach? Okay, there's a lot of confusion and clutter within nutrition. And sometimes I think for people just starting off, the calories is the number one thing. Okay, so if that is you and you don't want to think about anything else, right now just think about calories, even for like the first 2-3 weeks of whatever you're doing. Obviously, I think hanging on and watching this video is going to help educate you as you continue to get into nutrition and think about it a little bit more. But first, if that's all you want is the calories, by all means do the calories. So for some people, that's it. Okay. The second most important thing, and what I usually suggest for most people to take into consideration, is that protein, and that's why I kind of made it half of this section here. Okay. So the calories number 1, protein is number 2. Now, why protein? Protein is going to help you repair connective tissues. It's going to help you maintain muscle mass as we have lower calories. It's going to help you build muscle as we start to strength train, right? So protein is very important to really preserve. We want to think about it as that's that kind of the wood and the timber stoking the fire of our holding on to muscle and losing fat as we're in that caloric deficit. So I hope that makes sense. And then, to come next would be fats and carbohydrates, right? Those are the other 2 things that we have alcohol down here, but those are the other 2 main macronutrients that we talk about. To me, the way I coach people is, hey, let's get our calories and our protein down. If we have those 2 down, the fats and the carbohydrates are arbitrary. It doesn't matter if you eat higher fat. It doesn't matter if you eat higher carb. For what most people want is to lose a little bit of fat, look a little bit more toned and muscular. You need calories on check. You need protein on check. Okay. Some people like to completely take carbohydrates out of the picture because a lot of diets promote that. I personally like to eat my carbohydrates because I think they taste really fucking good. I like pizza. I like fries. So I'm not eliminating carbohydrates out of my nutrition. And I'll show you why. I think it's going to surprise you how many carbohydrates, based on what Debbie and her makeup is going to be, how many carbohydrates she's going to be able to eat while continuing to lose fat. So, carbs are not the enemy. People didn't get fat eating carbs. They get fat because they overconsume calories, right? And carbohydrates tend to be easier to overconsume, right? Now, let's jump into very quickly nutrients, right? Nutrients are important. Nutrients are going to help regulate a lot of stuff in the body. I already kind of talked about that. So that would come kind of third here in overall importance for fat loss. Now, some people might jump down my neck and say, what the hell are you talking about? You're promoting just eating whatever the hell you want, and as long as the calories are in check and not worrying about other health stuff. I'm not. But this topic is for fat loss. And if we're talking about fat loss, research tells us that if we have calories and protein in check, okay, fats and carbs are pretty much arbitrary, and then nutrients would come next. I'm not talking about overall health. Yes, that could be for a different video, but right now we're talking about the hierarchy of fat loss. Let's kind of get into this now, okay? So let's take Debbie, and what I want you guys to do is whip out your phone and put up your calculator here. If you want to have a piece of paper down as well, you can legitimately be able to calculate out your calories right here, right now with us. Okay, so first, like I said, Debbie's a 42-year-old accountant. She wants to lose a little bit of fat before summer comes. Let's say Debbie weighs currently, let's say 160, okay? So if she weighs 160 pounds, that doesn't really matter to me right now. Say Debbie wants to weigh let's call it 140, okay? She wants to weigh 140 by summer. So what we are going to do, we're going to take, if you see this here, this is a calculation for overall calories per day of how much you should be eating. I think it's best that for people to at least start at is you take your goal body weight, so GBW here, times it by 12, okay? So we're going to take 140, that's your goal body weight, good job Debbie, equals 1680. Okay, so 1680 is how many calories we're going to say that Debbie is going to consume per day, every single day. Okay. Now, what I will say, there are going to be days where this fluctuates up and down, right? We may have days like, hey, Monday through Thursday we're really good, but on Friday we want to treat ourselves a little bit more. On average, I want this to come out to 1680. Okay. Because what's going to happen is if you eat 1680, but then on Saturday you decide you want to treat yourself with a bunch of pizza and booze and stuff, and now you get up to 22, 2300, 2500, the calories are off for the week. You just went, almost 1,000 calories over, and now we have to recover. Even it's going to take even longer to lose that fat, lose that weight that you want to lose. Okay, so an average of 1680 per day. Now, second, like we talked about in the fat loss hierarchy, protein is next. Okay, this is two most important things. So protein per day, we're going to take the goal body weight, and we're going to multiply it by 1. Right? So if she wants to be 140 pounds, Debbie's going to take 140 times 1 is 140, and that's how many grams of protein she's going to take in a day. Okay? Now, if you wanted to, by all means, and like I said earlier in the video, this is my suggestion. Take these two numbers, 1680 a day for Debbie here, and 140 grams of protein. Go with that. Just concentrate on hitting those. If you hit those two, nothing else matters. Okay? If you want to get more into the nitty-gritty of it, all right, you're a little bit of health conscious, you want to make sure that you're getting enough fats, carbohydrates, I feel you, okay? We would calculate fats by recommended amount is anywhere from like 20% to 30% of your overall calories. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to take the overall calories, 1680, and we're going to put it at 0.25 or 25% here. So we're going to do 1680 times 0.25 equals 420. Okay. So 420 would be the overall caloric makeup that we need from fats. Okay, but now to get how many grams we should be taking in, we know that fats are 9 calories per gram, so we're going to take 420 divided by 9. Okay, and that's going to give you 46.66666. Okay, so 46.6. Okay, and I'm going to put that down exactly how it is, 46.6 grams. What I want you to know is that this 0.6, people are going to ask, well, should I round up? Should I round down? Should I take in that 0.6 into consideration? No, I want you to just do, hey, 46 point, I'm going to put 46.6 here, but I want you to round up to 47. The overall caloric makeup of that 0.6 of that gram is going to be very minimal. You might have to walk up and down your stairs one time and you'll be fine. Okay, so don't get into, don't get too detailed into this. Just think about it as 47 for now, okay? I'm just going to keep it as 46.6, so when we add them all back up, they calculate the 1680. Okay? All right, now, last, we're going to calculate how many carbohydrates Debbie is going to be able to consume on a daily basis. So, the way to do this here, all right, so we're going to take overall calories, add them up, and subtract them off of the total. So first, we want to take, we know that the 46.66666 was 420. So 420 calories from fat. Okay, and then we know 140 times 4. So 140 times 4 equals 560. So if we do 420 plus 560 equals 980, okay? So we'll take 1680 and we'll subtract 980 and we're going to get 700, okay? So we have 700 calories that are going to come from carbohydrates. Now we know that this is 4 calories per gram of carbohydrates, so we want to get those grams. So we're going to divide 700 by 4, and we're going to get 175. Okay, so what this totals up to, okay, we're going to get 140 grams of protein, 47 or 46.666666 grams of fats, and 175 grams of carbohydrates. I bet that's way more than you probably think you can consume while still getting your overall calories, getting your protein in, and losing fat. So I hope that helps. And just to make sure, let's go back up and through this so you guys can do this at home. So whatever numbers you have, do this with me. Go ahead and take carbohydrates times 4, okay? And then take your protein, 140 here for Debbie, times 4, okay? Add those two numbers together. So for Debbie, that's 560 plus 700 equals 1260, okay? And I'm going to take 420 because I know 4.6666 times 9 is 420. So I'm going to add 420 onto that, equals, and that should come out to 1680. So you can see right here, and you can't see that, it's not zooming in. Regardless, but that should, your calculation should add back up. So once you put the actual caloric makeup in and add all of those back up, you should get back up to that overall calorie intake for the day. Now, I will say this, as you progress within your fat loss and your weight loss, your calorie makeup is going to change. So as, say, Debbie gets down to 130 pounds, okay? Great, good job, Debbie. You did a fantastic job. Now, what's next, okay? Maybe we need to decrease calories, or maybe like she has enough muscle mass we can keep them the same, okay? So usually the way that we would do it is, hey, let's go back up to the top here. Debbie, what's your goal now? You reached that 140. You did amazing, okay? Now she wants to get down to 120. What do? We take goal body weight times 120, and we get back into that overall caloric consumption right back down the chain here, okay? Now, there is going to be a difference in overall, caloric makeup if you have more muscle or less muscle, because people with more muscle are going to burn more calories, right? For example, someone that, like myself, that's 200 pounds but has 40 pounds of less muscle than I do, it can consume less calories than I can consume. So the body makeup changes it a little bit. But that is definitely, we're going to talk about that on another video. Just concentrate on this for right now. I want you guys to get really good at knowing how many calories you should take in, and then start to track your calories. Use MyFitnessPal, use Lose It, or just write them down, weigh them out. That's the best way to do it. So if you guys enjoyed this video, please subscribe to this or hit that like button. I would really appreciate it. And leave a comment below if you guys have any questions, if you guys wanted me to cover a different topic that I didn't touch on today, or if there's something that I missed here that you are interested in, please let me know. I'd be happy to cover it for you. So again, I'm Chad here. Go ahead and yeah, have a great day. I don't know what I was going to say there. See you.